welcome. And this conversation that we're having is dedicated to the event, which is, I believe, is a first time such a large-scale private event, which gathers new businessmen, but also established businessmen into Almaty. And I'm happy to say that Almaty is becoming a regional business center once again. So it's great to have you today and to talk to you more about the forum itself, but not only the event, but also about the business mindset and about your way, your path, and what you could share with younger entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. So the first question I would ask is why do you decided to participate in this event, and what benefits do you see for yourself, for the audience, for other speakers maybe, and maybe the country and the region as a whole?
Thank you. As you started your introduction of the event as the first private, so I think that is, the key driver.
Yes.
That it's being private is, I think, the key note here. We have seen many events in Kazakhstan in the region, but mostly they are sponsored by big corporations or government. And I think this is something which I've noticed, that this is a very good attempt to bring people from different parts of the world with diverse cultures, experiences, and to be able to bring such a diverse crowd and even audiences to a place like Almaty. So it's like you are bringing the world to Kazakhstan or Almaty, or you're taking the world or Almaty to the rest of the world, which is, I think, really it's a great connecting point for any city or country, how you present yourself to the world and how the world will perceive you. And I think it's not only the speakers. I think it's the whole package. What city will offer. Mm-hmm. I think the experience, like as you land in Almaty and you go through the immigration, you take your taxi to the hotel, and then you go to this event, and then you go to restaurants, and you walk around the city, you go to the mountains. So I think it's just the whole package, the experience which this event will offer to people who, I know there's a lot of people coming from different Central Asian countries. I have a lot of friends coming from Middle East. Mm-hmm. This event is in some sort of partnership with Young Presidents Organization, YPO. Mm-hmm. And as a YPO member, I've seen a lot of discussion on our chat groups, and there's a lot of excitement. People want to come, they want to see the city, they want to hear speakers. So I think it's a very good event. Very good initiative. Mm-hmm. And I hope this is not the first or the last, and we'll see much more. And I hope that this event will inspire different kind of events in Kazakhstan, where the private sector and young entrepreneurs, they will take more initiative and take leads of creating such events.
So you mentioned YPO, it's a global network, right?
It's a global network.
Yes. And what could be an aspiration for a young entrepreneur to become a member of YPO someday? What could you tell more?
I think the first inspiration is the threshold to be able to reach a size to be able to join, because YPO has its entry criteria, age limitation, number of employees, size of business, financially and otherwise. So there's a threshold. And I think that is a very good starting point for an entrepreneur who inspires to, join YPO, and he will see, okay, there's a joining criteria. And the limit is that you have to be able to fulfill those requirements before your 45th birthday. Okay. That's the age limit.
That's the Y in
that's
YPO.
The Y. That's the Y. And
young.
Even if you're plus 50 like me, you still feel Y in you.
Right.
So I think so. That is, I think, inspiration that, okay, I have a time limit. I need to achieve this threshold by that time. And a lot of people, of course, achieve this threshold much earlier, and some achieve later. So I think that's inspiring, because when we joined, I mean, there was a thing like, well, thank God, like I managed to join when I was like, less than 40 years old. So
you need to enter before you're 45 years old.
Before your 45th birthday, because YPO, as an organization, as a young president's organization, you have to either a professional running a company, family business, or you're an entrepreneur. But in all three criteria, you must be the head of the organization, as a CEO, chairman of the board, as a leader of the company.
And money-wise, how much should you
I think the last
make?
I know was, I think you have to reach about $10 or $12 million in gross sales per annum, which is, it's a big amount. But I think in today's time, I mean, if the business is well planned, and one can easily, I think, reach that threshold.
Well, that's a great goal,
Yes.
I guess, for young entrepreneurs
Yes.
that they could set for next
Achievable.
next 5 or 10 years.
Yes,
to
correct.
become a member of YPO.
Correct.
It's great. We would love to see more members from our region in these global
indeed,
organizations.
Indeed. I think Kazakhstan, we have now reaching almost 50 members. When the organization was started about 12 years ago, they were just less than a dozen, and now we have 50. And I think with the speed we are going, I think in the next 5 years maybe we'll have more than 100.
Wow, that's impressive. And going back to your personal story, what led you to become a YPO member? How did you achieve it, and what do you attribute as your most strong side, or your secret ingredient, as they say, to become a YPO member?
YPO member. YPO was initiated by our friend Nurlan Kaparov. We have common friends in Turkey, and he heard about YPO, and we started asking, do you know YPO? And I knew friends in US and Europe who were member of YPO. And we always heard about this great networking organization, closed club. Everyone gave different name and meaning to it. And it was like, it's very difficult to join. You have to have certain size of business and everything. And I remember we met YPO members in Turkey, and Nurlan came back, and he was all inspired. And as we all, whenever Nurlan saw something outside Kazakhstan, and he always tried to bring some good ideas to Kazakhstan. So he was like constantly traveling around the world and looking for what he can bring to Kazakhstan. And YPO was one of that project. He said, like, I think we can do it in Kazakhstan. And he gathered his few friends and presented the idea. It, seemed very appealing to everyone, and we said yes. And it all started from there. From a small meeting, we became a proper organization. We got accepted into YPO International. We got trained. We started participating in global events. And soon we saw that more and more people started joining. And one thing, of course, it is very important to mention that YPO, as a YPO, you have to be a very transparent organization. Even if you are very successful in business, but if you are not a fully transparent organization with proper compliance, audits, financial controls, you have to go through a very stringent audit to be able to join the organization, which is, I think, another very big plus for businesses who, of course, wants to join such a network, that they have to be very inspired to say, well, I need to build a very open, transparent organization to be able to meet the criteria and join this global club.
So what is the value of networking, of being part of organization which is bigger than your own business or your own circle of friends and family? What does it give to you, and why do you see the value? Why networking is important for young entrepreneurs as well?
I think there's not one. I think could be several benefits for networking. I mean, number one, of course, the reason YPO is really focused on compliance, transparency. They want to be really sure that when they let a member in, that organization, that entrepreneur really qualifies for that organization. I believe that is to, first of all, build a trust, because without trust you cannot build a network. So one of the benefit of this networking is that when I join any YPO event anywhere in the world, and when I meet fellow YPO members, I'm sure that they have gone through the same process that I have. So I'm not really questioning their integrity, whether they are right people or they're worthy partners, or can they be good advisors. Because when I look at myself, that all the process I've gone through, if they've gone through the same process, that means that we are more or less at the same level.
Right.
Maybe their business is bigger or smaller than mine, but at least like the business itself is transparent and it's real. And I think that is the first and foremost benefit, is the trust. Secondly, the matchmaking. If someone is in real estate business and his market space is limited to Almaty or Kazakhstan, and he wants to expand his business, he wants to go regional or global, to be able to find people who have done like the same and expanded their businesses globally on a global scale, and interacting with them, socializing with them, learning from them, I think that helps a lot. So we have like hundreds and thousands of free advisors. It's like a global advisory. And we have our own network, digital network. It's like I would say not the right thing to say like Facebook of YPO, but we have our own global network. And I think any time of the day, if I'm interested in any topic, any business in any corner of the world, I'm sure if I go to our ypo.org, I can search by business, by member, by country, by city, and I can find specific knowledge, experienced members. And it's usually quite easy to connect with them, because if you write, okay, I'm a YPO member from Almaty or Dubai, and I would like to have a call, or I have a question for you, there's a high probability that you will get a response. And I think that access is extremely useful and helpful.
Did you have such a case where you?
We have. I think it's an ongoing process. I mean, we like being in YPO now for 12 years. I mean, it's become part of your daily routine. We have built networks. We have friends in YPO around the world. YPO have global events. So we meet people, you make friends, and I think this is something extremely important for business community, young entrepreneurs in Kazakhstan, because they have to connect with the world. And the question is, you need certain stepping stones, and YPO membership could be one of those stepping stones. Because as you know, you cannot just like simply, if you want to expand business to another city, you say, well, I want to do something in Shanghai. You buy a ticket and you land in Shanghai. The question is, what will you do next?
Right.
You'll find a business consultant, but the question is it a right consultant or not? You need to do a market research. But if I want to go somewhere and I have certain business interest, I can connect with the chapter in that city. I can find like-minded people. So when I land in that city, I already have a group of advisors or YPO family members who are there to connect me with their networks. So the transition of basically getting connected to the regional network of that city is a lot more faster through YPO than I could do it on my own. So it opens a lot of doors.
So you mentioned pro benefits of networking as trust and matchmaking. Is there anything else?
Education and idea exchange. When you get into networking and you meet people from different backgrounds and different businesses, I mean, that's such an amazing idea exchange. Because we're so busy in our own world, in our own businesses. From morning till evening, we're always like focused on like what we do. But when you have very diverse groups where there are people from different walks of life, different businesses, and all of them are successful, and when you engage with them, it gives you really tremendous energy. Gives you ideas and areas that you have never touched before. So I think this definitely, I would say, and the education, by the way, for YPO, education is a very important part of YPO. So within YPO, we have hundreds and thousands of education events around the world. You can find so many topics from winemaking to art, real estate development, automotive industry, innovation, peacemaking. There is such a huge variety of topics one can cover in education. And of course we have then access to more traditional education as well, that YPO runs a lot of education programs with the leading educational institutions around the world. So there are programs where you can join from 6 weeks to 24 months. And that is exclusively designed for YPO members. And that access, I think, is also very useful, because as a businessman, as an entrepreneur, one is so busy. And even if we say, well, I can squeeze a little bit time for education, it's very difficult to find out what is right for me. What would be the outcome? How it will help me personally and professionally. But having that peer-to-peer connection with YPO members who have gone through those education programs themselves. So before I say, yes, well, I will join this education event or this program, I have access to hundreds of members who have gone through that experience themselves. And that helps me decide whether it is right for me or not. Another very important area for YPO is family. YPO is, I think, one of the very few, or maybe the only, real business organization as a, where you see there's a lot of families involvement. There's a special program for YPO children. We call it next generation. So all children, I think above the age of 16 and 26, they can join Next Gen. They have their own programs. They have their own idea exchange platforms. They have their own events. And I think this is also very useful in terms of if you want to bring your children into the real world and connect them with a network, a trusted network.
Right.
So I think that's also quite a useful event. And even we have seen, we have come across so many amazing stories that a member who has some really illness and he did not know what to do with it. So within YPO, he managed to find some of the best medical experts who were able to guide him and help him to treat himself. To recently, I mean, it's amazing. Recently, we saw a message on our chat from YPO Italy saying that, do you have any contact with a mechanic who can repair antique cars? Because one of our members is driving from Shanghai to Europe in his antique car, which was, I think, from 1970s. And he is in a place called Aktau, and he has to cross the ferry to go to Baku, but there was a technical problem in his car. And he has no clue what to do. Like, imagine being in Aktau with your antique car, and you have to cross the ferry, go to Baku, and you cannot start the car. I think in the evening when I looked at the chat and I saw the photos, his car was already getting repaired. And one of our YPO members in Kazakhstan knew someone, and he was able to organize the repair. And next day, we just saw a message saying, "Oh, thank you very much," and I'm off to Baku.
That's a great example when you connect not only on the business side, but also on the personal side, because we used to think that business clubs and business networks is mostly for business purposes.
Yes.
But here you're saying that you can find like-minded people, and you can actually feel the support of the network even in your family matters or your personal development.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask why it's so important for businessmen, especially for young, aspiring businessmen, to pay attention to your education, to your family, to all other spheres other than business. Because there is a tendency to focus more on business, on money side, but why it's important to balance your life, and how would you advise to do it?
I think it's a package. This happiness is a package. It doesn't come only with money. Money helps, for sure.
Right.
But money is not enough. Family, friends, your inner network, the city you live in, your hobbies. I think it's a combination of many things which completes the success. So I think being an entrepreneur is not just about a business idea, incubate the idea and become extremely successful and rich. I think everything has to come along as a package. And at the end of the day, I think it's a peace of mind. For an entrepreneur, the resilience in terms of, I've been through this journey. I mean, you have, challenges, and some challenges are so overwhelming that you want to give up.
Right.
Your health deteriorates. You have no time for timely meals. Sometimes you have no time for an exercise and things like that, right? So, this is exactly where the question is, that your mental health, how strong are you mentally? That, I think, has a really important role in the success of an entrepreneur. And I think this combination of things, as we discussed, the family, friends, your network, your hobbies, sports, alongside your business, balancing all that, I think that what drives your mental health or your confidence. And I think that's the main ingredient that you need for your success. So in a way, to be successful, you have to have all those things to be able to, complete you as a successful businessman.
And many starting entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, they think that I will get that first $1 million, and then I will start living my life to the fullest, and I will have time for other spheres. So what's your view on the starting point of the entrepreneur? What mindset do they need to have? What ideas?
That's, putting a sort of the benchmark, I think putting money is something which is not the right, for me, I mean, of course, for me, it is not the right way, because trust me, it's when you start and you say, okay, the first million, when you have the first million, and you would be like, is that it? Because, your needs, your needs grow with it. Your personal needs, professional needs, as you grow your business, you need more financial resources. It's a never-ending cycle. So when you start a business and you have revenue of $100,000, and you say, well, having a cash reserve of $20,000 in my bank account is enough. But when you have $1 million revenue, then you realize that this $10,000 won't be sufficient. You look, I need to have at least $250,000 cash reserve to be able to sustain my business at 1 million. And then this 1 million becomes 10. Then the financial need for your business goes from 250,000 to 2.5 million. So, it goes on. It's a never-ending cycle. As you increase your business, you have to enhance your resources, financial resources and other resources with it. So if the goal is, okay, my first million, when you get your first million, I think that you would soon realize that that's not the right goal.
So it's a race and a marathon.
Yes.
At the same time, and you need to plan for a long term, right? To balance your spheres starting from the day one. Or what is the secret ingredient for the mix?
Both are very successful strategies, like we call it sprint or a marathon. And both strategies have been applied, and I think I take my inspiration from the wildlife. You have cheetah,
right,
who has very few minutes of strength and is one of the fastest animal on earth. And cheetah uses that speed for hunting, but that's limited by time. And then you have, the African wild dogs. Their resilience, in terms of stamina, they're not the fastest, not the biggest, but they have an incredible stamina that normally they wear their, prey. They make the prey so tired,
right,
that eventually they have their meal. So look, these are the, I think we can never win, like whether it's an endurance or whether it's the speed, or could be a combination of both, right? Because in business, there's certain moments that you need speed,
right,
but there are other moments that speed won't do it. You need endurance. When you have a business plan for the year, you say, well, it's my business plan that I need to achieve certain KPIs till the end of the year. I need to achieve those KPIs. So you can be a cheetah mindset. But then when you have a 10 years business plan, and this one KPI, which is the year-end result, will be just one stepping stone. And things can go wrong. I might achieve it, I might not achieve it, right? But when you look at from the context of like 10 years plan, this is where the endurance strategy applies.
So did you have moments when you had to be cheetah and it paid out?
Oh, absolutely. This is like sometimes you have to be both, in one skin. Half of you, everything is running like a cheetah, and the other half is like, the African wild dog. So I think that is the amazing part of, I think really and like when you're going through it, trust me, you don't say that, but once you achieve your certain goals and you see the results, then you can laugh about it. But it's one of those things that when you have to have certain strategies, conflicting strategies and you have to really work on both, or sometimes more than two, to be able to achieve your year-end goal, month-end goal, end of the quarter goal, or end of the 10-year plan. And at the same time, I think the resilience-wise, endurance-wise, one has to be ready. That yes, I've been sprinting, but the time comes where you did not achieve what you aim to achieve. So you might have to say, well, am I ready to just like simply, stop everything and start all over again in the middle of the race? It's like, so you have to change your strategy sometime in the middle of everything. So I think that is something which every entrepreneur has to be, clear. It's like, it's not a linear thinking or linear way. It's not like 1, 2, 3, 4. It is, I think it's a lot more quantum, view involved in business life.
Right.
So one has to be really ready for, all sort of challenges, and have to have that cheetah heart and the soul of African wild dogs, to be able to match the speed and endurance if you want to, achieve your goals.
That's a good analogy. Well, you talked about uncertainty and the risks that business people take, and for the last 5 years we see that uncertainty level in the world is rising, and it's a big luxury to live your life normally and not being affected by everything that is changing in the world. So I guess that this type of flexible mindset is what is needed for most of the people right now, as well, maybe for the first time in history, because before that we had 3 to 5% of business people who were taking those risks, and they were willing to take it, and they were enjoying this. But right now, many more people have to become more flexible, have to become cheetahs and wild dogs as well. And the problem, I think, that not many people, maybe they had such experience, but they want to learn it. And what could be the motivation, to taking risks and to becoming more flexible and choosing this path? Because we see a lot of young people, especially Gen Z, Z generation, that they are more willing to take that risk and to start their own enterprise, to become serial entrepreneur. So what is the motivation behind choosing this very difficult but maybe rewarding path?
Every entrepreneur has to have a certain appetite for risk. Without an appetite for risk, I think if one doesn't have that, I think it's better not to get into business life. Risks, there are certain risks that we can manage and certain risks you cannot manage. And I think this is something, risk analysis strategy is extremely important for the business. I mean, one risk is, what if the demand and supply changes for my product or my service? And you have to have a plan. Okay, in such a case, I can diversify my business, I can diversify my marketplace, I can go out of marketplace, I can do expansion. But there are other type of risks which are not in your control. We have seen in Central Asia, in Kazakhstan, in last few years with the regional conflict, between Russia and Ukraine. It has changed a lot of realities, and we have seen that there were certain business models which were connected to the Russian economy, Russian businesses. That at one time, I could see, like 10 years ago, for Kazakh business community, they were always looking at Russia as a role model.
Right.
There was a lot of reliance on the Russian market. There was a lot of demand from the Russian market. No doubt Russian market was quite a big market. So they took a lot of inspiration from the Russian market. They tried to penetrate into the Russian market. And we have many examples of those businesses who have penetrated into the Russian market, able to very successfully capture a market share, only to scale back because a conflict between two countries is not within a control of a businessman.
Right.
So you have done everything right by the book. But the geopolitical risk is something that is not very easy to manage.
So you always have to be ready for such risk.
We have to be ready for that. And this is something, being realistic, being like thinking of unknown. Like, you have to, I think one of my favorite time, in businesses, scenario planning. I've studied scenario planning, and I was not very sure, like, who actually uses scenario planning? You just do things. But now I just pulled my old books, and I'm deep diving into scenario planning. And, we are like, in every new project, we are putting like crazy scenarios. And sometimes my team is like, the probability of this happening.
Black swan.
Exactly, is so low. I said, well, as you said, it's low, but it's there. So we're not going to go, crazy over managing that very low probability risk, but it's worth considering it and have certain planning that in this case scenario, what would be our reaction? So let's do like 20 case scenarios or 10 case scenarios, and let's see if we have reasonable solution for each case scenario. And a case scenario which does not give you any solution is the case scenario you should be most concerned about. So I think you cannot eliminate the risks, for sure. Mm-hmm. One can manage the risk. One can diversify the risk. One can actually create the business model which can survive in a high risk market and high risk market situations.
Right. You need to land on your feet afterwards.
Absolutely. And I would say that the risk management should be the key focus for any business, for any entrepreneur, whether it is a startup or a well-established business. Scenario planning and the risk management should be the key component of the planning.
Well, I think that's a great advice. And one more last question I wanted to touch upon was, so once you establish the mindset that brings you to maybe first $1 million or YPO membership, then how do you change it again, for the mindset that allows you to expand and go beyond what your first initial goal was?
Mm-hmm. It's interesting, like within a club, there's a club, and then within a club, there is another club. YPO, we have a joining criteria is, I think $10 or $12 million revenue per annum, age limitation. But once you join the YPO, you would realize then there are different groups. We have a chapter called YPO Intercontinental. You can only join that chapter if your annual revenue is more than $1 billion.
Oh.
Right? So I think it's ambition-wise. I think the first ambition is, okay, I want to achieve the threshold and join YPO. Once you join the YPO, you can join other chapters, and you can join other groups within a larger group.
Is it your goal to join Intercontinental?
Yes, why not? This is not the key driver or goal, but as I can say is that, bringing value to yourself and your shareholders is the most important part of it. And as I said that for business, reaching a certain threshold does not mean that this is it and that's part of it. In fact, whether you like it or not, business will push you to do more. Business will demand growth. And that's not up to entrepreneur or CIO. Like, those forces are definitely, sort of managed by the CEOs and entrepreneurs, but not controlled. So if you have a thriving business, let's put it this way, you have a thriving business, you're doing few $100 million revenue, and you know that your market is becoming saturated. You know it, that sooner or later in 1 or 2 years' time, you'll be pushed out of the market by younger, brighter, smarter competitors. And then business will demand, business will shake you. Hey, look for new markets. This is the time for expansion. You're reaching a saturation point. In your home market, you have done very well. But look around, there are few markets around your home market which could, you can use as a further expansion plan. And these expansion plans, the way you drive your business out of your core market and you expand your core market, is one of the business survival strategy. Because if you stay still in one place, eventually you'll be, wiped from the market. So that brings me to the thing is that, just listen to the business vibes, feel the drive that business is taking you. You have to have this very deep connection with the direction business is going. And if you do not react on time, and usually then it's, you're too late.
Well, thank you for the conversation. I think it will provide a lot of insights for young and aspiring and existing businessmen, even experienced businessmen. I think that so there are thoughts that you've been carrying and is based on your experience in business for quite a long time, and very glad that we had this conversation.
Thank you very much.